Watch close. I've got a surprise.
Just get down here.
Dodon! Now.
Hello everyone, this is Poohead189, and today we're going to be talking about one of the more niche yet seminal techniques of the Dragon Ball franchise. That's right, we're talking about the signature technique of the Crane School, the Dodon Ray, also called Dodon Pa in the original Japanese, which translates to Dodon Wave technically. However, I think we can all agree the technique is more like a ray than a wave, considering the aspects we are about to discuss. Introduced in Chapter 86 of the original manga, the Dodon Ray is first used by mercenary Tao, or Tao Peipei, right after Goku sufficiently annoyed him by destroying his clothes with the Kamehameha Wave. The Dodon Ray shares a few dimensional similarities with Frieza's Death Beam, which is a technique I already went over about 2 or 3 months prior to this video. However, there are a few notable differences. While the Death Beam was created for Frieza to essentially be able to dispose of anyone who he did not take a liking to, the Dodon Ray must be seen in the same light as the Tri-Beam, just as I mentioned at the beginning of my Tien and the Tri-Beam video, which is through the lens of an assassin, as the inception of both techniques find their origins in the Crane School. The Dodon Ray is an effective, powerful attack, and is the Crane School's answer to the Kamehameha Wave. However, it does not have the sheer destructive capability of the Tri-Beam or Kikoho, but the upside is that it is easier and less dangerous to use for the practitioner. After learning the technique, the practitioner can perform it simply by pointing his finger at the target with his arm fully extended and his fingers closed into a fist, save for the practitioner's index finger. Much like the Kamehameha and unlike the Death Beam, the user then yells the name of the technique, though it is difficult to say if that is required for its use. In the anime, the beam is yellow with a reddish-orange outline, whereas in the manga it is simply yellow. The technique seems to take very little time, if any, to charge up, making it a very effective and quick attack to use on an unsuspecting foe. We do see Chaozu charging it slightly for his fight with Krillin in the 22nd World Martial Arts Tournament. However, Chaozu was also the only character to fire it in consecutive shots, and not a single shot. Perhaps in order to fire it like a semi-automatic weapon, which is something that the Dragon Ball Wiki I think calls it the Dodon Barrage, one needs to charge it up. Much like holding a loaded gun, he holds his finger in the air so as to potentially not misfire on the target or hit a bystander while charging. Or at least that's what it seems to be like. Now, in the Viz, it states when Tao uses the Dodon Ray, it is referred to as Tao Peipei's Dodon Pa. However, according to the Daizenshuu 7, it was thought up by the Crane Hermit. It's likely simply called Tao's Dodon Ray because he is utilizing it currently, though his attack might have a bit more kick to it than the average one. It's hard to say. I have also seen a comment on a YouTube video that seemed kind of interesting to me. I wish I had thought of it, but it was a theory that the Crane School's techniques almost appeared to be inspired by King Piccolo, as the Great Demon King can fly like the Bukujutsu, uses finger beams like the Dodon Ray, and causes vast amounts of destruction like the Tri-Beam. I think that's mostly because Toriyama was sort of copying himself, with the Crane School techniques happening first in the manga and then Toriyama perceiving them as powerful or evil, and he then gives them to King Piccolo too. But it is a great theory in my opinion. While Roshi created the Kamehameha following Lord Mutaito's teachings, it would be interesting if the Crane Hermit or Suru Sennin, also known as Master Shin, was inspired by the demonic power and utter destruction of King Piccolo and emulated it. Again, this is just a theory I saw and it's not canon, but it's neat to think about and would be really neat for the world building. Now, since this is a technique for an assassin, we do need to go over the properties of its damage output, because while effective, it does not hit with the typical effect that one might expect from a beam like this. While Frieza's Death Beam, and Piccolo's Special Beam Cannon for that matter, are intended to pierce opponents, that is not the purpose of the Dodon Ray. The beam, while meant for precision, is designed to hit the target with a small, controlled explosion which detonates on impact, which can cause burning, concussive damage, and can literally rip into someone's body through explosive energy. Nowhere in the manga, nor do I believe even in the anime, does a Dodon ray hit someone and pass through them. Even when Mercenary Tao hits Goku with the first Dodon ray, the beam does not go through him, yet Tao believes he is dead nonetheless, and every other time it hits an object or a person, it creates a small explosion. This implies, and we'll use the Goku and Tao example, the beam is meant to hit the chest and detonate, taking out a large enough chunk of Goku to dig into his body and destroy the heart. It's actually pretty clever because it almost feels like it would give bullet damage. So it could almost appear like a bullet or some form of shrapnel. Not to say that bullets don't also exit the body, but it definitely feels like something that someone detonates. Of course, you also see Chaozu using it on Krillin, but only hitting the ring, and it causes explosions, and Tien using it on a leaping Goku during their fight, and it knocks Goku back to the ground. The anime takes us to another level, however. As a small aside, during the tournament informs us Chaozu horrifically burned the entire body of a fighter in the preliminaries. However, that would take a bunch of minute circumstances for that to occur in the manga, so it would seem to be very unlikely in the manga. Now, as most of us know, during the 23rd World Martial Arts Tournament, Mercenary Tao returned as Cyborg Tao, having become far more powerful than he previously was. Not only that, but he was now capable of utilizing the Super Dodon Ray. As friend of the channel Clearin notes, Tao says he, quote, programmed it when it is ready to fire, which means he likely would not be able to use it in an organic form. Now, while we all know even the Super Dodon Ray is no match for Tien, we do need to acknowledge that it is still a powerful attack. Yamcha and Krillin were impressed with Tien, but they were the most impressed after he stops the attack, indicating they did not think it was something to just ignore. We also need to acknowledge, while Tien doesn't put up much of a guard and only uses a Ki, that is still putting up a defense. A Ki is meant to dispel attacks, both in real-life Ki theory and in Dragon Ball, so while it's only a light defense, Tien also did not wish to be hit by the beam or to tank it entirely. It likely would have done at least some minor damage to him, and considering Tao and Tien's difference in power, that does show the attack is effective. Speaking of the Super Dodon Ray, in the Viz, my bestie Clearin notes Chaozu calls his rapid-fire Dodon Ray a Super Dodon Ray. However, I got our resident translator Dave on the case, and as you can see on the screen, the quote super usage in the Viz is not an entirely accurate translation. It's not literally super. It's Chaozu merely going all out with his attack, so it should not be considered a Super Dodon Ray. There is also another variation of the Dodon Ray called the Neo Dodon Ray, though this is exclusively in DBZ Burst Limit, which happens to be my favorite game other than Fighter Z. Love me some Burst Limit. There is also the Dodon Mehameha, used by the fusion Tiencha, which is the fusion of Tien and Yamcha, in Dragon Ball Z Budokai 2. And of course, the Dodon Ray is used a few times in filler, and is also used quite often in Mystical Adventure, one of the best Dragon Ball movies, used by both the Crane Hermit and Mercenary Tao. Phew, okay everyone, I think that's all the information we have today on the Dodon Ray. I always love covering Crane School techniques. Remember, I have my Twitter and Blue Sky below if you want to follow me, and I would appreciate likes and comments if you feel I deserve them. And a subscription is appreciated, of course. If you want to join the Patreon, it's just $2.50. It would mean the world to me if you did. And of course, I also have another channel where I talk about science fiction and fantasy. And the week that this video is coming out, I am releasing videos on Elder Scrolls. So if you're interested in that, go ahead and check that out too. But of course, don't feel pressured on any of this. Okay, guys, have a great one. See ya.